Go team.
Woo.
Yay!
Woo. We are live!
We made it!
Inexplicably, once again, we, the greatest minds in gaming industry, are here to entertain and delight and sing Flow Rider cover versions at you.
Now, you say greatest minds, and we really struggled to work out why there was a weird audio loop happening.
Hey, but you fixed it inexplicably. So,
We did.
Well, you say we did. You did.
Well, Aaron did.
No, Karina did.
Okay.
Goodness,
And Winnie, what
pay
did you
attention to
do?
where credits deserve.
Yeah, Winnie, what did you do? God, nothing.
I just sat and watched the chaos unfold, you know?
You just designed the manual on how to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that's a
Hey,
prerogative.
Jos is here. Jos is here
Welcome back,
again.
Jos. You are such a sucker for punishment.
Yeah, man. Alright. But yeah, anyway, it's Wednesday. Hang on, we need to do like the proper 1980s intro. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock and live from freaking dotted all around the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It's another Hub Games Team Talk. Hello.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Oh, the energy. Come on.
Yeah, we need to do like an energy circle. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, I don't know.
So-
I never did acting.
We're like a week to go, less than a week to go to the Prism Arena Kickstarter. What has everyone been up to this week?
Come to me last.
Okay. Karina?
I feel like a lot of people have seen me post on social media and will keep seeing me post on social media for probably the next 3 weeks, maybe more. But I'll be there. I'll be posting. Please interact and engage, or send me a message and tell me to stop posting. I won't, but nonetheless, you can. Yes, and there's also been some MailChimp and some other bits and pieces. Normal things. Facebook ads. The day-to-day things that people want to do. And should do, and then message Michael saying, "Help! This is not working." That's been my couple of days.
Yeah, I've set up so many accounts in the last 48 hours on so many different things. It's mildly terrifying.
I know, I keep getting pinged with like, do you really want to log into this service? And I'm like, have we been hacked? Oh, no, it's Michael. Yep. You could just empty the company and we'd never know.
Not that much of an ass. Come on.
Fair enough. Aaron, what have you been up to?
Just double checking all of the wonderful shipping and logistics information, and then crying as I get new rates.
Have they been updated?
They are being updated now, but they went down, so that's all that matters. At the end
Okay,
of the day.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, I forgot your eyes went wide. Surprise.
Yeah, I was like, let's just kind of mute, and have a conversation.
And broadcast.
We'll do a secret meeting later. That's fine. Everything is good.
So aside from, I think, working on overseeing some of the video content, I've been working on some puzzles that will be going out as part of the Kickstarter kind of social media campaign. So I'm trying to create interesting puzzles for people to solve that showcase some of the cool mechanics within the game as well. And they're really easy, aren't they, Karina?
Yes, I totally didn't spend a lot of time today on one going what am I not seeing? Because I didn't want to message you because I felt really, really dumb. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it by myself. So I just sat there.
So that's not going to be the first one anymore. We'll bump that one up a little bit.
Level 2. So when you say puzzles, you mean sort of little things that you can spend just a little bit of time just trying to work out using the game rules. How can you get from situation A to situation B? You mean that sort of thing? Yeah.
So there's an example of you've got one hero's last to activate. Can you score X number of points and win the game?
Okay.
But
so
you have to kind of make really creative use of your activation and your combo cards to do it. Another one, which I think we've all had to try and do when we're playing the game, is get ourselves into a position where we can't be targeted by an attack.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, okay, I don't have any decent cards to play. I need to survive this round. Where can I get to? So that's another one. And then one is about using the one I'm just done at the moment is making the most of your Bocon abilities to kind of pull off a cool combo as well. Cool. So they're all things that you get to do in the game, but it's a way of kind of showcasing it for people before they have the chance to play.
So I'm getting the kind of vibe. It's like when you get chess puzzles in a posh newspaper.
Yes, that's true. But they will be made, and here's the segue. They'll look great because Winnie will be working on them.
Professional hand over there. Well done.
Yeah. So Winnie, what have you? I dread to ask. What have you been doing this week?
Well, I've been helping Karina with the social media graphics, and Karina has been, our lovely intern, has also been helping pushing out those as well. We've also finished the Kickstarter page. I don't think there's any edits anymore on that, so we've just been finishing up the graphics there. And am I allowed to say about the kit?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. Sometimes I stuff that I work on is supposed to be hush hush, but you know.
Just assume everything's hush hush.
Yeah, it's safer that way.
I appreciate you asking. I've worked with people who just start talking and then go like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that." So I think this is really positive.
You do have that moment you're standing behind them going, "No."
So I've been working on the retailer launch kit. So there will be new different color stickers and working on the colors for the new jumpsuits for the heroes. So you've got a different variation. And then I will show you, Rory, I think maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
Then just to sense check and double check everything works. Sufficient preference, but we have options. But yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask had you picked the color, but we'll have a look tomorrow, and then we'll show it during the Kickstarter to the retailers. I'm very excited to have so my hero doesn't have to wear the same jumpsuit all the time.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that purple jumpsuit. It's pretty.
It's cool, but sometimes you want to jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah, mix it up.
Yeah,
style it.
Cool. So, Winnie, I think the people who've been watching have kind of gotten to know our faces over the last 3-4 weeks. For better or worse. Do you want to say a little bit of how you came to be working with Hub Games?
Yeah, what do you do, Winnie? Because we haven't actually covered that.
Oh, yeah, that might have been a thing that I should have said. Hi, I'm Winnie. Nice to meet you. I'm the designer for Hub Games, hence why I'm here, I guess. And they have coerced me to come on do this live because I don't know. We're going to see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you why, because people keep going, your stuff looks really nice. And we have to say, well, that's thanks to Winnie, who doesn't show her face. Well, apart from actually anyone who goes to Essen and Nuremberg.
Yeah.
And UK Games Expo.
Yep.
There's no UK Games Expo.
Hey, they've announced they're doing virtual UK Games Expo. So,
okay.
20 minutes ago or whatever. So we'll look into it. But yeah, Winnie is at those shows, but the rest of the time, she is huddled away in her design cave.
Yes. Which I miss very dearly since we are now stuck at home, so I don't even have a wall where I can doodle anymore.
You can order a whiteboard and just stick it up.
No, I'll just doodle on the window.
You just wait?
Doodle on the window.
Okay.
Whiteboard markers.
Also work.
Fair enough.
Yep, it does.
So, Winnie, we were saying tonight we'd kind of chat about, I think, some of the work that, how we approach games in Hub Games, and also then maybe look at other games that are kind of we all like for various different reasons, for their design elements. How do you approach it when we come with a game? So, the two scenarios are either it's an internal idea that we have for a game like Holding On or Prism Arena, or it's a game that's been inspired by something external like Flip Over Frog or Mega City Oceania and Adventure Mart. How do you approach, how did your mind start working when we say we've got a game?
Got you. Well, usually we start by maybe playing the game so that you get to grips with it a little tiny bit, but it depends. Sometimes whenever it's already, if it's like Flip Over Frog where it's came to us with kind of like a solid idea, it's, I wouldn't say easier, but because all the game mechanics and stuff are more defined, although I say that very sparingly because Rory, we all know like you like to tweak with the game mechanics until the very, very last minute. So
apart from Flip Over Frog, I think it's the only one that's escaped.
And Mega City. You didn't tweak too much with Mega City, did you?
No, I was pretty hands off with that.
Yeah. Well,
it was Anita who was tweaking until the last minute on that one.
But generally, we play the game. You give a brief with like a rough idea of what you kind of expect and want, and then I kind of go away, digest what you said, and kind of pick out little bits, and then I've kind of created like a little brand deck. So that kind of is kind of reiterating the brief again, but kind of asking a lot of questions and delving in a little bit more deeper into it. So I would do like a lot of mind maps, mood boards, and brainstorm of similar ideas, similar games. We look at competitors and see what they do, like what games that we want it to be. We look at what games it would sit along with and what games it would kind of, that instead of buying this game, what other game would you buy instead? So we kind of look at the shelf presence and all that type of stuff as well. Basically a lot of Pinteresting, I would say. A lot of Pinteresting and mood boards. I enjoy Pinterest a lot.
I mean, there's one thing I want to throw in that we do list who we think is, who we want to be playing the game. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really important thing, and we use that to shape how we approach the design of it. So in terms of talking about like Pinterest, how much of that is games and how much of it is things from like elsewhere in design?
Basically with Pinterest, I try to use that more for like the mood and experience of it, whereas with games, like I take a reference a little bit, but it's mainly like outside research, as in like, say for example, Mega City, a lot of those tiles was actually inspired by manhole covers and the patterns on them. So we don't like to go with the obvious thing. We kind of just like explore and see where the mind map leads us to, I guess.
So yeah, I mean, that's what was kind of a leading question, because I kind of figured it was mostly not game stuff. And I think that's what makes your work really nice, is you're kind of looking outside of the kind of board game design space for inspiration as well.
Well, to be fair, I was never a gamer. Whenever I first joined, my definition of board games was Monopoly and Scrabble.
That's fine.
They count.
Yeah.
We all have to start somewhere.
Scrabble's the greatest area control game in history, so it's all good.
And, like, to be honest, I never even really played any board games or owned any board games. Like, I had Rory Story Cubes and stuff before, which is how we actually got connected in the first place. But to me, that wouldn't have been necessarily a board game, if that makes sense. I would have used that more as a creative tool for brainstorming and stuff and just kind of playing around. But yeah, since I've joined, I have a very, very nice little collection of games that are nicely displayed in my cabinet and stuff. So from nothing to, I think the first year I went to Essen with you guys, I came back, I wasn't planning to buy anything at all. I came back with like about 5 or 6 games, so. Yeah.
So
I like the fact they're displayed in your cabinet as opposed to hitting your table on a regular basis. Just like Winnie doesn't have the games as sort of like things to play. They're there as things to
display
and enjoy from an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah.
So I mean, I will kind of shift the conversation to the others, but like right now, speaking of the games in your cabinet, what would be your kind of go-to game if you had some friends over?
At the minute, my partner, who was not really a board gamer as such either, Kenny, he actually bought a game.
What?
He bought Puckett.
Oh, wow.
Like a wooden type of, like, it's like really, really simple. It's just like this little wooden box, and there's like a little elastic, and you basically flip those into the hole. So that is sitting on our kitchen table, and we are kind of challenging each other on it every so often. And at the start, he was really good at it. I'm getting better at it. He sometimes doesn't even like to challenge me anymore.
So you have all that practice from compact curling at Nuremberg
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Is that like, who's going to wash the dishes?
No, but that's a good idea.
Just wait till you know you're really confident on your skill level, and then start doing it with him. Until he's like, hang on a second. I'm not fun for that anymore.
That's it, you're getting hustled. Get hustled to make Kenny do all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering then, like, from the rest of the team, is there something like some aspect or element of one of our games that we can kind of ask Winnie about that you kind of really like, and maybe want to know how she came up with that approach?
Winnie.
Be gentle.
I'll always be there. I'll be nice. I mean, obviously, so you and I worked really, really closely on Megacity, Megacity Oceania. How annoyed were you at me when I was sort of like coming in with you? I want it to look like 1980s video game, but modern and cool, and like, because I find it very difficult to express how I see something in my head, like, because I'm the engine boy, I make the things tick underneath, and I sort of Megacity was, I think, one of the first games that I kind of saw in my head, and you managed to sort of make that vision come true, which was really, really like fantastic, because my lack of communication skills were very much showing in the early days of Megacity. But like when like someone like me or Rory or whoever just sort of like we're in those initial meetings, and it's just sort of like, yeah, we want it to look like, and then it's just this nebulous concept. It's like not like I want it to look like this game, or I want it to look like this game, or so, like it's like the equivalent of me saying I want it to look like a gas or whatever. How annoying is that to sort of work with?
Not at all, actually, because that's kind of what a designer does. Like, if I didn't take into account of what you say, I would just be an artist, and that's just self-fulfilling, doing stuff that I would like, if that makes sense. Whereas for a designer, we look at what the client, hence, for example, that would be you in this case, would kind of want what they are looking for. But sometimes along with yourself, the client, who we also look at who the target audience for. So what your vision is might not be right for the game, depending on the audience, if that makes sense. So it's really driven by what it's kind of like a balance game where like I'm trying to juggle what your kind of vision is, but I'm also looking at to like what would the end user like, how does that appeal to them, and like what other games do they play, what are their interests, what do they like to do, and have a look around at that, if that makes sense. So not at all. I welcome it. In fact, I like to poke you even more, and instead of like, I always like to try to get more visual references. Like one of the things I actually do whenever a brief comes to me is you would always ramble on, but I would pick out keywords, and from that I would kind of do like a little brainstorm on that word, and that kind of broadens the scope a little bit.
Michael doesn't ramble on.
Michael never rambles on. Never. No,
Winnie's there with her little word net, like catching. I'll take that one and that one.
That's it. Why say one sentence when 14 paragraphs can do? That's Michael Fox. But no, like I said, I'm always like blown away how you manage to sort of like you manage to evoke what a lot of us have in our heads, in that when that final product comes through and it goes through iteration after iteration after iteration. Sorry, I just see my cat is behind me. But then like it's sort of like when the final sort of like thing lands on the table, and it's just sort of like, holy crap, this is this is it. Everything you've made has just made my heart sing, my cold dark heart go. Oh. So yeah, you good at doing it, yo. Super good.
You're good at coming up with stuff for me to do, yo.
Yeah. Right. I still do find it very weird when you say, "Here's a piece of paper, write down 35 things," that with one word in the middle is just like, what? Oh god, right. Yeah, the task you put me through, the hoops we jump through, are wild.
As a teacher, though, did you never have the kids do like a spider diagram?
Oh yeah. But I'm a grown up now.
Yeah, but I'd never do it.
Yeah, those things are from the past. They're behind me.
I made them do it. I didn't have to do it, right?
Oh, excuse me.
Coffee?
I should have. Yeah, I had a glass of wine before I started, and normally I follow that by a cup of coffee. So I like relax and then energize.
As one does.
Erin, how about you? Is there anything like in one of our games that kind of really stands out for you and you'd like to ask Winnie about?
Yeah, I was trying to pick a game to narrow it down to, but the truth is it actually translates over all of them. When it comes to designing those icons, so in a game like Holding On or Mega City or Adventure Mart, which is one that we were working on recently, I wonder, like, how many variations of those icons do you go through? Because I feel like you go through a lot. And I'm curious because, like, what are you looking for when it comes to, like, translating or conveying information easily? Because even just with the Adventure Mart cards, like, deciding where the icon should go and what it should look like and what information it should convey, there was so much thought that went into that with you and with Anita and everyone else in the studio.
So with icons, it's more... like, I would have to point back down to Rory because he's kind of icon master, I guess. Whereas, again, I would come up with, like, I start from a base, whereas, this icon needs to convey this, and I would kind of do, like, brainstorm and research around that, if that makes sense, and just try to note that in the icon itself, and then I would set up a grid system so that it would kind of follow suit, so that, say, if it was, if they were all circle shaped, they would all be the same size and they would all have like kind of the similar points and angles and like even like the corner radius of something that would have to, I would try to make those consistent throughout. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but yeah, it's kind of like simplicity, I guess.
Because I mean, even just thinking about Prisma Arena with all the different variations, like on the combo cards for running, you went through multiple different types of like, lines on this one, or the character being like this, or a little more in an action pose. This was pretty much. It was just saying, like, I find that impressive that you can do that.
Just to bring like a visual element to the presentation, I've got some Adventure Mart cards in front of me. So
is your camera working, Rory?
Pardon?
Is the camera on?
Is it not? Oh, no.
No.
Uh-oh.
So maybe you'll hold them up in front of the camera.
Maybe I will hold them up.
So for behind the scenes chat, when we were starting the thing, Rory has got this thing, this contraption above, which has got his phone.
Yeah.
But I think the phone has gone into sleep mode, so the camera has switched off.
Yes.
Yes.
Sad face.
So let me see. So here are two cards from an upcoming game, Adventure Mart, which was designed by DigiSprite. Sorry, I should reveal myself first. And I think what was really interesting is the guys had done, like, I think a really nice job on it. And it was kind of, I think it was very easy. It could have been very easy to say, okay, that's kind of good enough and we'll put it out. But again, it was kind of like, I don't think we'd be Hub Games if we didn't try and kind of push the design just as far as we could. So I'm wondering, Winnie, if there's any things in particular, say with these cards, that you kind of were looking at and interested in kind of modifying.
With Adventure Mart, it was a different kettle of fish because that game is completely card-based. So we had to set up like a massive spreadsheet, which then again, like I didn't manually go in one by one to input all those little descriptions. So there was like a thing called in design called data merge. So that was, I think, one of the first times I tried that. So it was a learning curve, but a good learning curve. So setting up the templates and stuff for that was good because, like, although the cards are fine as they are, but later down the line, whenever it comes down to localization, it would make things a little bit easier as well. So it'll hopefully make localization a little bit smoother. But for the cards, we kind of like, I wish that we had the original one to show a comparison as to, so that you can kind of see how like they were perfectly fine. They functioned completely well. They were, again, like super pretty, super nice, but we just kind of made it a little bit more friendly, I would say. Like they originally had like a black border around the game, which made it a little bit more on a darker sense. Whereas we changed it to like that simple thing of changing it to a white border was to brighten up the game and brighten up the card as well. But it also has a usability effect where, because those cards get shuffled a lot, there's going to be like wear and tear. Like ideally, I would have loved if we could just bled the full color out to the edge of the card, but because of usability, sometimes we kind of have to balance that with aesthetics. So we had to keep that little white border in.
So Winnie, in particular, is it on this one? Yeah. So I remember like all of our conversations about this versus this. So the two money symbols.
The buy cost versus the sell cost.
Yes.
That was like 6 weeks of discussion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is interesting, and the relationship between this, and this of like. So if you look at it on screen, it's really nicely balanced, both the kind of size of the icons, and they all relate to each other well. I can remember how much work you put in to getting that to work. It's a really subtle thing that people don't notice, but I can remember like how many times and how many variations we were trying, and positions of things and icons we were trying to get that to work. And I think that's, a thing about, I know there's an element of that. There's a lot of that in game design where there's a lot of things that are tried and thrown out as you work towards the game. But I think especially as well with the work that you're doing, there's like so much thrown by the wayside while trying to get to that ideal experience. And that's probably, part of the reason we're having the chat tonight, is to try and acknowledge that as well. So from my perspective, I think Holding On is a game that really stands out for me in terms of what you did with both the color scheme and again the whole conversation about icons and evoking the player experience in terms of the choice that the players have to make between the medical care and palliative care, and trying to balance that. Do you have any kind of memories from working on those patient cards for Holding On?
That was quite a long time ago now.
It's weird that it was only like 2 and a bit years ago, but it does feel like an absolute age.
I barely even remember working on Adventure Mart, and that was the last game that we worked on.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. I think with any of the games, it's kind of whenever you're in the process, you're in deep, and there's so much work that goes into it that then once it's done, it's like, it's like, all done. And you kind of forget about all the pains and the struggles and the debates. No, it should be this color, right?
I was trying to think, was it Holding On where we spent the day working on like icons, but I actually think it was Untold when we spent the day in the design room and we were trying to work out because the whole game had to be kind of graphical and we were trying to work out like what the flashback symbol would be, what would be the idea token. and trying to work through all of them. I just remember us having the flip chart up and going through so many different variations
and that
for
was
them.
Only the start, because although that was the start of the variations, that was just the idea generation side.
Mhm.
Whereas after that, there was still so many iterations of that single one icon, just to make sure that that just needs nudged up a little tiny bit, or this one can break that little row just so that it just, sometimes with things, it might be like mathematically balanced, but to the eye, sometimes it's just like, that little nudge just makes it completely better. So you just kind of have to balance when to and when not to do that.
That's like when you hit a line horizontally and a line vertically, and then you're like, nah, it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So Winnie, that actually inspires something quite interesting to me, because I mean, like I said, for me, everything is about the numbers. It's about balance. It's about everything. But for you, for design, how much of it is just about going with your gut? I guess. How much of it is, that feels good. That feels right.
Like with design, there's like always rules that you generally follow, like rules of thirds and like the golden circle and all that type of stuff. So that's kind of like your base knowledge. But I think with everything that we generally do, especially if it's like for icons or like layouts, we set up a grid system, if that makes sense. So for our rules, like we would usually have, although you only see 2 columns, there's actually probably 12 columns in the background in the grid.
Bear with me for 1 second. I have the Prism Arena rulebook right here.
Actually, I do. Ta-da! I beat you. The rest of the game is downstairs, but
Yeah.
Come on, Roy.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's okay. I don't need
3
to.
rule books on page.
No, but I think like even that's a good example, Winnie. I think of what you're talking about,
So
where you've got a 3-column setup
yeah,
here, but you're breaking it on this side.
but it still follows that 2 column on the other side. And realistically, there's actually 6 columns on each of those pages. We just spread out so that that allows you to kind of juxtapose and kind of position like certain images and stuff, so that they still follow a mathematical grid, but without completely breaking the grid entirely.
Let me see. Because there was one where I was like, oh, that should break it, but it actually still works. Yeah. No, so you actually go to essentially 2 columns, but it still works within the overall setup.
Yeah.
So is that the 6 columns in action there?
Yep, so that's 3 and 3 on each side.
That's something new every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just like, it looks wonderful. And I know it was hard.
We've actually got a question in the chat from Jos, who says, Winnie, as well as the others, of course, can you talk about the process of going from the original Gotani version of Flip Over Frog to the beautiful art on the Hub Games version? Now, the original version of Flip Over Frog is a great game. It's very, very good indeed. But my God, it is insane. Here we go, baby. Box it down. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, original version of Flip Over
So
Frog.
from that to that.
Yeah.
So original version of Flip Over Frog is, like I said, great game. But there's 1 set of frogs in it?
No, so yeah, it was designed to be very family friendly, and in the Japanese market, it does that job beautifully in terms of the artwork and the kind of very kawaii kind of look to everything. I think the very nature of that helped me in terms of spotting it at Essen back in 2017.
Yeah, it definitely
18.
stood out. It definitely stood out.
Because I think a lot of people just immediately passed it by, and I'm always drawn to kind of Japanese style artwork. So I had a look and got to see the gameplay. But again, it's one of those things, and I think it's happening again with an upcoming game that we have, where there's an amazing mechanic within the game, but the artwork doesn't always connect with who the target audience is. for the game, and that was the kind of conversation we had. And I think Winnie, you'd agree, we have to give Anita, my partner and co-owner of Hub Games, fair due, where she was like, it's called Flip Over Frogs, it needs frogs. And as part of that, she actually went and did a whole load of research and looked at the poison dart frogs, because they're very bright and colorful creatures, and so therefore that feeds into the usability aspect, because again, a lot of what we do is ensuring that the games are accessible on multiple fronts, not just tactilely, but also financially and visually as well. And so the patterns on the poison dart frogs would help with that. So that was kind of the starting point. So it's like we knew it had to be poison dart frogs, and had to be 4 of them.
Yeah.
Winnie, over to you.
Okay, so I think that game was really driven by Anita and our intern last year, the placement student that we had, Kendall. She worked heavily on it, and I was just kind of guiding her in the background. With the 4 frogs, actually, although they are colorful, they are also colorblind friendly as well, which is a big thing that we actually test and look out for. We do a lot of testing to make sure that it's accessible where we can. The one thing that I think we did change as well was in the original version, they had like a little sticky candy thing.
Yeah, it's a lollipop.
It didn't like, it was fine that you stick to it, but I kind of really liked that. Like, we had like conversations about actually including the snake, whether is that too harsh to have like a snake to eat the frog? But
No, that's Lord of the Wild.
yeah, I know, but we considered those things. That was a thing that came up, as well as like that too. Like, it needs, like, a snake can look vicious and super scary for some people, but we tried to go more with a gamery friendly styled vision so that it appeals to a wider audience. And this kind of game would kind of use more of it's like heavily inspired by a video game. Like, that was kind of what we were kind of looking for, was like that kind of rich, vibrant video game-esque type of experience, but in punchboard form.
I always think of it like an app game where it's got very kind of simple, bright colors, and it conveys the simplicity of the gameplay. I think you hit on something there that does come up a lot. You know, we publish games for an international audience, and the challenge is getting people to buy into a design, both in like Japan and China, Poland, North America, Brazil. And it's always really interesting, like, getting feedback from distributors in particular, because they'd be kind of like the first point of contact when we're pitching a game.
I love the use of interesting there, Rory, because it's just sort of like potato. You say interesting, I say anger-inducing and frustrating.
No, because they all have a point. But and sometimes people bring their own baggage and assumptions about what will work or not. And I think Flip Over Frog is a good example of that, where the concern is the game looks, too cute and is only for children, whereas in Korea, the concern was that it actually was too old looking for children. So there was a preference for the Japanese style. And I always think that's really interesting when we're thinking about the visual aspect of things. I think we tried to be as international as possible, knowing that we are based in Belfast in Northern Ireland as well. And it's a tough thing to do, but again, Winnie, I think you do a good job in terms of reaching out to the non-standard player as well, because I think you would say you're not a hardcore gamer, so, and I think that's one of your strengths, because you bring a different take to game design then, whereas because I remember there's conversations where myself and Michael have kind of gone, but that's the way it's done. And everyone knows what that symbol means, and you're like, no, I don't know what that symbol means, which has always pushed the design to be a whole lot better than it would have been, if we were kind of preaching to the converted with our designs.
Well, on that subject, let's talk about some designs, Rory, Corina, Winnie, and Erin, that we like. Because it strikes me that Karina's been sat up in that top corner for a little while.
Yes.
Hasn't said anything. So
I was about to ask you a question.
yeah, so let's run through a few things. So we've all chosen a few games that picked them from our collections that we either love the look of, or we love the design aesthetic of, or hopefully we love both. Now we know, unfortunately, this
And
is
to play.
and to play as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
If you can hit that sort of, like, if you can hit that triple of, like, it looks good, it's easy to understand, and it also is a good game to play. My lord, you're onto a winner there. Unfortunately, as we all know as gamers, that doesn't happen all the time. So, Karina, what have you got from your bountiful shelves?
Yes. Do we want to start with one that's very, very pretty and really fun, or do you want to go with a different one?
Call us
You lead it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my favorite board game covers, but also just art and games, needs to be this one. This is Evolution from North Star Games. Let me try and make sure there's no glare. There we go. The original, the first edition had different art, also gorgeous. This is the second edition. It's all, like, every card in the game is kind of this watercolor sort of painting. It is amazing. The game is also great. There's an app. The app is also great. I love this game with passion. I lose constantly, but I love it, and it is gorgeous.
Was that not the one that was originally done? Was it Right Games from Russia?
Yeah, I have that copy of it.
Yeah. And if you go all the way back, Evolution is the right thing for that, the right name for that, because my God, that original version was a thing. It was a choice.
It's really interesting. So Karina, and we're going to have this conversation, I know, that artwork does not really do it for me. It's really interesting. I actually prefer the very strong, simple design of the base game, of the Russian version of it. And it's weird because I know people love it, and I know I should really like it, and it keeps catching my eye, but there's something in the color scheme that just jars with me. Yeah.
So Karina,
the color palette.
Why does it appeal to you so greatly?
Now, I'll be very honest. I love watercolor in general, like watercolor style paintings, tattoos, watercolor. I'm a big fan in general, and I think that's kind of what appealed, what made me what drew me to the game. I'm trying to get a card, but apparently they're all the cardboard bits are in here. It's just, for me, it's visually gorgeous, and I know Erin has a game that she'll bring up in a bit that it's a similar thing. You draw a card or you flip a card, and you just kind of stare at it and go, "This is absolutely fantastic." It's just it is like I'll show you some bits. For me, they're tiny works of art. Generally, I'm curious to hear what Winnie thinks about this. I don't know if you know the game, Winnie. I can pull some cards.
Yeah.
Winnie's mad judging already.
He's like, "This is not what I would make."
It's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own preferences. You might like tomatoes. I don't like tomatoes that much.
That's fair.
Winnie is. We've had this conversation a lot. Winnie is minimalist.
Very minimalist.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of games
This
you
is
like,
not
Winnie.
minimalist.
No.
Winnie, I have a lot of games you're gonna hate.
Well, let's jump over to Erin then. Erin, let's show off one of yours. We'll bounce around the team, mix things up a bit. Now? Obviously, Erin lives in my spare room, so does not have a massive selection of games to choose from.
You're gonna see, yeah.
You've got some really good ones.
Yeah, well, I picked and chose what I wanted to bring. This is Raccoon Tycoon. I'm trying to make sure I don't have a glare. And I know Winnie's not gonna like it, but that's okay. And I will be honest.
I love how our caveat is Winnie's not gonna like this, but we love Winnie. And we like the game.
But that's part of the art about it, is just you can see from these tycoon raccoons on the side as well as on the back, like you've got the Scotty dog and everything else. I absolutely love how it looks, even though part of me is like, it's a green-brown game. I know it is. But the fact that it looks like those kind of old-style Victorian paintings, but has like animals on them, I find absolutely hysterical. And again, I just think it's really, really pretty at the end of the day. Like, where are my... I'm going to dig for cards, but Winnie, what do you think about it?
but I feel, Erin, you're very biased towards raccoons.
I mean, there is literally another raccoon game behind me.
Well,
I mean, check that out. It's ridiculous. Look at
it's
that.
very Victorian-esque. Yeah.
For me,
Winnie's
like,
judging
Yeah, I
silently,
think
going like,
I think Winnie, if we ever asked you to design the steampunk game, you would like implode.
I should resign on the spot. Get out of there.
Actually, what would a minimalist steampunk game look like? That would, I think, would be really interesting.
I feel like that's something we should look into. Just saying, that could be a thing.
No steampunk games, please. For me, I really like the look of Raccoon Tycoon, but it commits one of the board game sins that I really don't like, which is spot UV covers. It's so shiny, so shiny, so you can't really show it on camera or any sort of light source because you always get like the shininess just detracts massively. But it's always billed in Kickstarters as, oh, it's a fantastic stretch goal. That's nothing, mate. Nothing. It's pointless.
Actually, what was it? There was some Kickstarter recently that had a stretch goal where it made the rule book into like a matte finish. No, it made the cards into a matte finish. And I don't think I've ever, my blood pressure went up so high because it was just so hard to shuffle. I hated it. I hated it so much.
I feel like it would be really nice.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
So that,
No, the card texture, like whatever they did to it, it felt really cool. But the second you went to go shuffle, they just like catch and grate, and you're just like, nope, I'm gonna have to sleeve all of these. And I'm a horrible person. I don't like sleeving, so don't make me do it.
That's it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I normally. Oh, sorry. What did you say, Michael?
I was going to say,
He's just talking.
For our next stretch goal, all cards will be put on sandpaper, and that's fine. Anyway,
the game goes on fire the first time you play it.
What a great game! This is fine.
What are you, Karina? What are you going to say?
I wanted to say that the sleeves I buy for my cards, so for Arkham Horror or for Marvel Champions, are they're just transparent, like because I love the backs of the cards, but they're matte, so I can take pictures for Instagram, and there's no glare. So the top bit is matte, and I love that, and you can shuffle really, really well. But then, as I was trying, as I thought, I should tell you this. You said you don't sleeve cards, and I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I'm.
No, you don't sleeve cards
unless it's like a game like a TCG, like I normally won't sleeve. If it's a TCG, then I will go out of my way to be like, oh, I'm gonna get these card sleeves because it'll match this style deck, and I feel like it really invokes the amount of death and carnage I want on the field, and that's perfect. And oh, that's Grumpy Cat, and it just goes downhill from there.
I also have Grumpy Cat.
Yes.
I think though, I'm sleeve cards, but I'm actually trying to cut back because I think with the way things are climate-wise at the moment and production, something needs to shift in that. We don't need that much, plastic being produced. And that's kind of like a bigger conversation for us within the studio as well, as like finding alternative methods of production. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. So we're talking aesthetic at the moment, I think.
Rory, give us a beautiful game.
Let me see. Well, I have a bunch.
I like how you've very tastefully arranged yours along the back shelf.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them. I think just.
Well, Shipwreck of Carney you showed us last week, didn't you? So.
Oh yes, I don't need to show that.
Yeah,
I don't think Winnie's seen it though. Let me just show Winnie quickly.
Oh, Winnie will go. Yeah, this is. That's it. That's the good stuff.
So this is a cooperative game, Winnie. But they basically have these different kind of
Skills.
arrow style cards. And like for me, this is a game that looks really nice when it's on the table. It's really clean. It does everything it needs to do. But this one, because you're talking about clean and minimalist, this is a game I don't play that often. But I love the design. It's origami.
Yes, I know that one. It's gorgeous.
And I think you'll really like the layout of it, Winnie. Because again, the card type. So I'm just going to do a comparison because there's another game that has beautiful artwork that I like, Legends of the Five Rings. But
excellent choice.
Let's just compare some text.
Oh, look, one is utterly readable,
I
even on
can
a
read
bad
this one.
screen.
This one I can't.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's an example of, we have I kind of have a joke with a friend of mine who needs glasses when they're playing games, and I always ask, can the game pass the Tony test? Which is, can he read it in a cafe under dark light?
Yep.
Because a lot of games like Legends of Five Rings is unplayable without really good lighting and glasses for most people. Whereas even with oh my god, Origami, the text is big enough, even on a small card, that makes it possible to read even under lower light conditions.
Yeah. But to be fair, for any LCG, CCG, any sort of game that has a competitive play, normally there needs to be a lot of text on the cards. And for competitive play themselves, for the actual players, they'll be able to see the card even if they don't know the text and it's on the other side of the table and it's upside down to them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll still know what card it is. But it's really important to keep the format and everything. So for LCGs and TCGs, it's just a rule of thumb, text will be small, because they need to cram as much as possible. Because if not, it would be difficult to interpret the cards.
But it's also a barrier to entry. So like that. But that's the challenge, like in designing, is like, who's your audience and what works. Like, I'm a huge fan of Cardfight Vanguard, but it got to a point where the combination of text over an image with like red on it just made it impossible to read. And I think I've nearly 20/20 vision, but I still struggle to read those cards. It just kind of like was disappearing further and further as the text got more convoluted. And I think it is a consideration as designers to be mindful of. Like, there is even that, for me, there's that question in the game, is like, how complex do we make the ruling? Because to me, that's part of the kind of payoff. Like, we had to do it with the cards for Prism Arena. How complex do we make the wording on it? And is it worth it for the fact that you'll then exclude people as well by its complexity? I think that's something you'll always argue for, Winnie.
Yeah, love it. I like to organize stuff, so that's kind of the thing. Whereas if there's a whole load of text, I'd really kind of just tune off. So anything that is visually and simplified that any user can read, it's always good in my books.
Show us something good, Winnie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just a Prism Arena card.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
If ever a game company was Winnie's aesthetic, it's going to be Oink Game.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. It's so small. It's just a little tiny box. If only they had like a matte finish version. But like the little boat, it's just like usability. It's nice. It's got like a really pretty color scheme. That as well, and like even like the dice and stuff. It's just like the wood and everything complements each other, and it's lovely. It's just lovely, and it's a really, really simple game to play, and easy to bring around with you, easy to pack up. Just whip it in, and yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I like a lot of the Oink stuff.
But there's always
There's something really nice about Deep Sea Adventure with so you lay out all of the tokens sort of like you just sort of like lay them in a sort of streaming sort of like spindly snake shape like that. But it's really easy to sort them out because like the ones at the top are the circly ones, and then it's the triangles, and then the squares, and it's just like as the amount of sides on each shape goes up, they're the lower down ones. I just think it's very, very cool. In the chat, we have a few folks. Yoss says that he still loves Stamps, the Japanese version of modern art. But he thinks that's more the total package. Oink actually does a version of modern art as well, which is in their big box series, which is just two of those boxes together. This is our big box. The bold Mike Farrell says the Azul games look great for an abstract. You also can't go wrong with Takanoko. Yes. Before we came on as well, we were talking about Takedo as well. That is a very, very beautiful game. Uses a lot of negative space. Erin, you pointed that out really well. And it's also language free. So, it's more icon driven as well. But I chose my one, Let's Catch the Lion.
Yes.
So I chose this for a few reasons. Number one, it's cute as heck. Number
This is a
two,
true statement.
it tells you exactly what you need to do. How do you win the game, Rory?
Catch the lion.
Catch the lion. Done. Okay, where's the lion? Here's the lion. No, here's the lion. It doesn't work that way. And when it's set out and on the board, if I move it a little bit closer, when it's all actually set up, which we have here on the back. So this is shogi. This is like the Japanese equivalent of chess. Is the easiest way to do it. But each of the pieces has little dots on it, which tells you which direction the pieces can go. And
I do like Catch the Lion.
It's so clever. It's like I wanted to learn shogi, and it was recommended I pick up a copy of this. And this is like the super basic version of it. There is like a larger box version, but it continues the same idea with the same with like different animals, but the places they can go are all shown by the dots. It's just super clever. I absolutely adore it. It's also all wood, so you get that nice aesthetic. Yeah, it's so good.
I love
next Essen, I want to pick up the big version of it because it's super awesome.
because that essentially is like only a portion of the overall board.
Yeah, that's like
Kind
a
of
3x4 grid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the normal one I think is like it's like 9x9 or something, and there's a lot more pieces. It's very, very cool.
I love the way you can bring captured characters back into play on your side.
That's it. Like you take them, they become yours, which is all good.
Yeah.
I really want to play this game now.
It's cool. It's really, really cool. I've played it.
Put it on my list for when I visit you.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I kind of hope that Essen does go ahead this year is if it's the only place I can ever find.
I can go shopping.
Copies of it. Yeah. Well, to find copies of that.
Actually, there was a bunch of them on sale at in Cannes.
Well, Rory, some of us didn't get to go to Cannes. One of us.
You will save up your pocket money and go next year.
We ain't going nowhere. There's been no journeys for nobody, no time. Should we go around the table one more time? Just to let's do another run. Karina, let's have another one of your selections. Meanwhile, Mike in the chat also says, Tainted Grail, the art tells a story itself. Well, pity the game is dull. It is.
Michael's views are not the views of Hub Games or its employer.
No, it's very much a personal view, but that game is dull.
It is gorgeous though. It's really, really pretty in that sense. It's not pretty as in Prisma Arena, happy, pretty, cute, pretty, but evolution pretty. It is evocative in its own type way. I really, really like the art.
I was going to take a game out, but I've given up because I can't. I'll go for something else.
I shall not comment on gameplay because I feel like more. I have a game that I feel like Winnie might actually like because I have like 10 games here, and I feel like this you might actually like. So.
Yeah.
This looks familiar.
It does.
Bring it up closer. Let me see the logo.
So we saw this at Nuremberg.
Nuremberg. Yep.
Turn the back.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, pretty. Oh, okay.
There we go. It is pretty. The game itself is really, really gorgeous. So you guys know the game already, then?
But the game's really dull.
No, I really like that. No, because I wanted to hear more. Because if you've seen it, maybe you know a bit more about it. Also, I'm trying to get some pieces from inside.
So yeah, the pieces are all acrylic, I think, on the inside.
Yes.
And on they're all sort of like lovely and see-through, and then the bottoms of them have different types of mineral designs. And you set up this whole big extravaganza of these hexagonal pieces. And I love the fact that you pick them up using these little plastic suckers, and then sort of like, and it pulls it out. There's some on your desk, Rory, like back in the office.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, shiny.
I got a real that really beautiful abstract Azul vibe from it when we saw it at the show.
Nice.
So for everyone here who has played Hey That's My Fish and managed to destroy the whole world of Hey That's My Fish trying to take a hex out, this solves the problem, provided you put it correctly. But this definitely solves the problem.
Yeah, it's super clever and a very, very beautiful game to look at.
Yes, and it's also a really, really fun game. It's basically, I love Hey That's My Fish. I also love Penguins. The two are not necessarily, connected, but it works. However, this is kind of the advanced, the more gamery type of Hey That's My Fish, and it's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous to look at. So I really highly recommend this from UV Games.
It's all good. Rory, what did you drag out from your back shelf?
Excuse me. Unearth. Which has gone through with wear and tear. Yes. I love this because it has that. I saw it and it just had that kind of Monument Valley vibe to it. And the gameplay suits it. Gameplay is fairly simple to get into, and I just think while you're playing and planning, the visual of it is really neat and it kind of carries through the hexagonal element from the artwork into the game pieces as well. So there's a kind of coherency to it throughout. So when I play a game, I want to have something that I enjoy looking at on the table. And the cards in this really do that for me as well when I'm playing, because they don't detract from anything.
That's from is it Brotherwise?
From Brotherwise Games, yeah. I do bizarrely, and I'm trying to see if I can. It's probably not safe to swing my computer around. It defies all the odds, but does the job of what it sets out to do really well, which is Monsterpocalypse. I mean, as a graphic, with a little bit of graphic design background, it breaks my heart. But it really suits the gameplay and is really evocative of the world that it's creating. So that's where I think a game doesn't have to be super elegant and minimalist. Sometimes it actually needs to be over the top, because that's what's needed for the world it's trying to create. Oh, and Kimbra, because it's the one Euro game that I actually enjoy playing, and it's purely mainly because of the aesthetic.
Yeah, super solid game and really, really beautiful to look at as well.
Yeah.
Erin, you're up next. Is it another one with more raccoons?
No, I resisted that. Thank you. Barely. The art is gold, though. We'll talk about it later. No, I went straight for parks.
Okay.
I know. I was that, or I was going to grab skulls.
That's like an easy one.
I know. I'm so happy it's in my collection. Yeah. So this is another one by Keymaster Games. I assume most people are familiar with it, but because they got art from just so many different artists for their cards, just check that out. It's just so pretty.
Yeah, I mean, the fact it has so many different artists, but they all managed to sort of come together to make a very sort of cohesive vibe all the way through, that very much impressed me.
So Winnie, they basically used posters that were commissioned to promote how many 50 plus?
There's 50, 59. 59.
I think so.
National parks across North America, or across the US. And that's what kind of forms the artwork. So it's really nice how they've actually pulled it all together aesthetically, but I think it's the unified kind of essentially interface for the game as well.
What's really cool is you can buy the posters or the art prints separately from the game, so that because they work together. There's a separate website that they send you to. I've resisted a couple of them, but at some point I might not be able to resist. They are gorgeous.
Acadia National Park is one that's in Maine. It's I've been there. That'd be really cool to have a poster of. Yeah. Especially because there's a mountain that I climbed. Mountain. It's called Beehive, and I'll never forget it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just such a bare-faced cliff, and when you're climbing up, you have to actually grab sections of little metal ladders that they've just stuck into the rock. So you're climbing up, and then you look down, and you're just oh no. So it's kind of jarring. Yeah.
Telling you about that. Yeah.
No.
I love that mountain.
That sounds terrifying.
Well, because you're on this cliff edge, and you look down, and you see somebody down there, all the way further down. And you're just hey, and you can see them looking at you, and they're Yay! You're just like, yeah, if I fall, I'm dead. You just have to keep going.
This is why we're never going outside ever again.
Stop saying that.
Rory, you would like it.
Yeah, Rory would do
No,
it.
I hate heights. Like, my imagination just goes crazy if I'm on heights.
Oh.
Like, I love
no.
walking and I love being by the sea, but like looking down over ledge, not good for me.
Oh, don't climb this at all. Then never mind. I lied. Don't do it because again, you have to walk across like these little metal sections they put in. So sometimes there is. You know what? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. I'm shutting up now.
Moving on very quickly. Winnie,
Yes.
please take us away from the vertigo-inducing conversation.
Terrifying,
I'm sorry.
Aaron. The whole description was terrifying.
I'm shooting off for the raccoons.
I have knots in my stomach just from hearing your description.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually an easy climb.
Yeah, with brackets, with the potential of death. So,
well, yeah, if you fall.
That's a big if, though.
It's like a push your luck game.
Yeah, exactly. I love push your luck games.
yeah, but a legacy.
Oh
Yeah,
my
like
Where you tear up the Aaron card. Oh well.
oh, Aaron's gone. Michael, I want a
Winnie,
legacy
quick,
push your
Winnie,
luck
quick.
game about
Winnie, for the
climbing.
love of God, save us. Please stop.
Okay,
I swear to
Actually-
God, Aaron, I will come in that room and I will switch off your camera.
So
Dude, fight me. I climb cliffs.
Yas has just posted Forbidden Island, but I read it as Forbidden Ireland. So that could be our legacy
In Ireland climbing game. Yes.
We know Matt. I'm sure we can have him
We
whip
can-
up
we-
something for us.
We can combine the tourism posters of Ireland from the 1800s with late 1800s
Yeah, that sort of Victorian.
with a legacy game as well, and we'll call it Forbidden Ireland.
Yes,
like
I
that.
want this.
I thought that would be quite pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could we use like a bunch of those posters that we had for the we saw recently for Northern Ireland non-tourist board?
Oh
So-
yeah,
It's like,
Just stay home.
oh, man, Jesus, the beers are awful expensive. Don't go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
Winnie,
don't know what
please,
this is,
save us.
but yeah.
Okay, sure. Something that is not minimalism, but I do enjoy it, is Paku Paku.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
Oh.
It's so much fun, and it's really, really nice. And I just really like to say Paku Paku, if I'm not
Yes.
honest.
We have to thank Pedro, I think, for introducing us to that.
Let's
That
get
is a surprisingly like amazing dexterity game.
Yeah.
That needs a much bigger audience.
Yeah.
And it's also nice that all the players that you're constantly playing, so there's no downtime with it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I like that.
It's fun and stressful. Or stressful
Yes.
and fun. Whatever
Yes.
you want to put it.
That's fun.
Great description.
Well, I'm going to throw another one into the mix. Here it comes.
It was on my list.
Yeah, it's too good. Like Networks by Gil Hover from his own Formal Ferret Games with art by Heiko Gunther and come on, brain.
See, I think that's a game that does the job really, really well.
Yeah, it's not only really, really pleasing to look at, like when it's all out on the table. Iconography-wise, it's fantastic. Graphically laid out, it's beautiful. It's a fun game. Like Gil knows good games. He's very, very good at making them. And yeah, this has you in control of like rival TV networks, just trying to put on basically the worst TV shows in history. And it's very cool. And production-wise, it's lovely as well. It's the triple. It looks good, it plays good, and it's really, really straightforward to understand. So,
Winnie, I think it's a kind of game where on the first playthrough you'd be like, "What the hell is going on here?" And then the second game you'd kick our asses. Yeah,
it is all good. Mike has mentioned the old Carrick Reed rope bridge regarding heights and horribleness, I assume.
yes, that's where Aaron needs to go for a walk.
It's
I'm
not
not going.
bad. It's not
It
bad.
is. It's not.
Is
It's
that the
actually. It's a
bridge
lot
you can-
safer.
Okay. I mean, so is Beehive, just saying. That mountain's safe
No,
too.
it's nothing like that.
I'm not gonna Google
Aw.
it just in case. Just in case, I'm not
No,
gonna Google it.
I am. I'm gonna Google it.
No, you want to?
Where's this copy?
Yeah.
Or do I want it to be a surprise?
We nearly lost a child there before.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was Keelan. She.
Dude,
a friend
do you
brought him
want to
up.
admit this live on stream?
I wasn't there, so.
I was telling you. Oh, where do you go?
Yeah. A friend said, "Oh, let's go up there." I used to go as a kid, and he didn't have any kids of his own, which he's kind of since confessed. Now that he has one, he's like, "Oh my god, there's no way I'd take my child up there." And they were walking along, and I need to say to our children, "Just stay alive, and I'll get you an ice cream at the end of it." Because they just found themselves on very thin stretches, and it was like, we have to go forward because we can't go back. And there's a moment where Keelan, I think, stepped in like a kind of pothole, and like kind of safely, she was near the cliff edge, and she kind of like just fell onto her bum, but like everybody had to dive and just make sure she was okay.
How old was she?
About 4, I think, or 5 at the time. So that like wasn't quite aware of the dangers. Yeah. So when our children get to 8, we celebrate that we've kept them alive that long.
Victory! Yay!
Yeah. Yay! You made it to 8.
That's it. And now you're on your own. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Like Spartans leaving them on a hillside.
Yeah. If you can make it home, you get to live with us.
Congratulations. All right. On that shocking note.
I was gonna say, I want to know what the officials want to go.
On that horrifying admission of abuse, let us move on. So yeah, we should wrap up because hey, we've been doing this for a long time. Winnie, if I may be the first to say thank you very much for joining us. We apologize.
The first of many, Winnie. The first of many.
Sure.
She's like, I've seen what's
everybody
happening.
who's
I'm
in the
not
chat
coming back.
demands that Winnie comes back next week.
Yeah,
Yep.
give it a year when you'll be like, top Twitch streamer demanding that we smash that like and get that subscribed up. You just need one of these chairs, you'll be fine. So this time next week we will be a day into the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is genuinely, but it's going to be, everything's going to be fine. I keep telling myself. You can go and check out the Kickstarter page right now. Give us feedback on what you think about it. It's got the Hat to Play videos on it. It's got review videos from lovely folks like Slicker Drips and Tantrum House. More will be added as they come in over the coming days. And yeah, it's Prismarina, and it's going to be freaking awesome.
And next week, we'll be joined by John Fiore, who's co-designer on Untold and Prismarina. So if you have any questions about either game or like solo role-playing, games and education, John is the person to ask.
And
He's a total nerd.
John is amazing. Like, John is, no word of a lie, one of the most understated, funny-ass people I have ever met. And he will be gold. Prepare yourselves.
I'm excited.
We have to. I mean, we've had the conversation. We have to just like shepherd him a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a time. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Adventure.
Yeah, but yeah, are we going to do anything special for the switching onto the campaign next week?
Yes.
Yes.
You're going to do a little live stream or something like that, just to say, hey, it's ready to roll. Okay.
I was actually thinking we should all like dress up in our good clothes.
Oh yeah, I have those.
Yeah, I'll
Sorry, not to imply that anyone is not currently in their good clothes.
Dude, I'm
Maybe.
in pajamas and have been all day. This is
I picked a sweatshirt for this.
A shirt and a tie and jacket.
A hoodie.
Yeah.
I'm wearing
And a
the
hoodie.
jeans today, so it's fine. It's all good. But yeah, so we will put out stuff across all of our social media.
Yes.
Say,
But the
hey,
plan is, so next Tuesday, we're launching at 2:00. We'll go live a bit before that, but you'll see all this information
UK
on
time.
Yeah.
Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere we can post it. We will post it, and we'll post a link to where you can see our lovely faces dressed up, apparently.
I'm just saying that I'm not going to do it. It's just so that you all turn up.
Rory,
Yeah,
no,
my
if you
watch.
suggest it, you have to do it. Otherwise, I'll never let you live it down.
Yeah.
Are we really talking dress and high heels sort of dressed up? I need to know
Yeah.
what to expect.
Like sorry, I meant to say formal wear.
Dude, I own one shirt.
But that's fine.
It's got ponies all over it.
Excellent.
Have you got a
I
tie
have
to
a
go with it?
blazer.
No.
Yeah.
The last time I left an office job, I literally set fire to all of my clothes. So I'd never
Outside.
never have to go back to an office job.
Fair.
And that's why you got arrested, because you were then naked in front of the job where you had just left.
Look, those were dark times that we're never going to talk about again. So with that, we will see you next Tuesday, 2:00 UK time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the rest of you, work it out. You all have computers. We will see you next Wednesday as well then for more stuff. But for now,
Yes.
Winnie, thanks for joining us, and everybody say goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Winnie. Bye.
Bye.